They always said I was just the tech girl. Then, they used my invention to save the family business and tried to buy me off with $5 million. You're just not leadership material, Lily, my mother remarked, her voice calm and clear, echoing throughout the ballroom. Your sister has the presence, the business sense. You're brilliant with technology, of course, but Vanessa understands people. A hush fell over the gala, and all eyes turned to our table, investors, business partners, and employees witnessing my public dismissal. Above the stage, the golden banner celebrating $250 million seemed to mock me as my mother handed Vanessa a ceremonial check for $1.5 million, her leadership bonus for a corporate change she had no role in. Thank you, Mother. I'm honored, Vanessa said, smiling as she stood to accept the money and the applause. I held my smile, raising my champagne glass in a toast, while something cold and solid formed in my chest. 6 months of sleepless nights, thousands of lines of code written in my apartment after long days at the office, and a revolutionary inventory management system that had saved Anderson Supply Chain Solutions from the brink of bankruptcy. All credited to my sister, who couldn't write a single line of code if her life depended on it. I'm Lily Anderson, 29 years old, a software developer with an invisible role in my family's business. Despite having just saved our 70-year-old firm from financial ruin, Anderson Supply Chain Solutions had been struggling for years with outdated technologies and couldn't keep up with more modern competitors. When our largest client threatened to leave, taking 40% of our revenue with them, I saw an opportunity to prove my worth. The Symbiose app I developed completely transformed our business model, streamlining operations, retaining existing clients, and attracting dozens of new ones. In just 6 months, we went from near bankruptcy to $250 million in revenue, a 400% increase. Tonight was supposed to be my moment of recognition, but instead, I was patted on the head while Vanessa, with her MBA and natural charisma, was handed the keys to the kingdom I had saved. Speech? Someone shouted from the crowd as Vanessa approached the microphone, her smile shining under the ballroom lights. Anderson Supply Chain Solutions has always been about family and innovation, she began, crediting the app that had transformed the company as a team effort, though she had only acknowledged my technical contribution. I politely nodded as she described 6 months of software development as just a small part of the team effort. As the evening went on, I moved through the crowd, accepting congratulations from those who knew the truth, even though my mother's public story painted a different picture. But no one realized, not my mother, not Vanessa, and certainly not anyone in that ballroom, that I had never actually transferred ownership of the software to Anderson Supply Chain Solutions. That detail would prove crucial the next morning. The Anderson family had been in the logistics business since my grandfather started hauling construction supplies in a single truck after World War II, with each generation growing the company. My mother took it national in the 1990s. It was always assumed that Vanessa, 5 years older than me, would eventually take over. She had a business degree, a professional demeanor, and our mother's full trust. Meanwhile, I was the outlier, more interested in computers than corporate meetings, happier coding alone than attending business events. My father, before his death 10 years ago, was my biggest supporter. Lily sees the future, he would say to my mother. She understands systems in ways the rest of us never will. After his passing, I honored his belief in me by earning a computer science degree and a master's in artificial intelligence, convinced my skills would someday help the family business. But when I returned with my qualifications, my mother demoted me to the IT department, tasked with maintaining our outdated systems. We're a logistics company, not a tech startup, she would say whenever I proposed modernization. Let's stick to what we know. Meanwhile, Vanessa was being groomed for leadership by shadowing our mother in executive meetings and representing the company at industry events. I didn't mind Vanessa's attention. She was great with people, and her networking skills were invaluable to the firm. What bothered me was how my contributions were continually minimized, and my technical expertise treated as little more than a hobby instead of a valuable asset to the company. 6 months ago, when our largest client threatened to leave due to our outdated tracking systems, I saw my chance. I proposed a solution to my mother, give me 6 months to develop a proprietary app that will revolutionize our supply chain management. We don't have the budget for a development team, she said dismissively. I don't need one, I replied, confident in my ability to handle it myself. She laughed, but Vanessa stepped in. Let her try. What do we have to lose? It wasn't the most enthusiastic endorsement, but it was enough. I was given a small budget and 6 months to develop the app. What neither of them knew was that I had already been working on the project for nearly a year, building the framework in my apartment during evenings and weekends. I worked in the office during the day, but when the workday ended, I continued coding late into the night. I documented everything, every line of code, every decision, every milestone, not just for good development practice, but because I had a sense that Vanessa might try to claim the credit. This project was my chance to finally prove my worth to the family business, though I wasn't naive enough to think there wouldn't be professional envy between sisters. Still, I never expected the complete disregard for my work that I experienced that night, or the realization that my family might never see me as anything more than technical support. The morning after the gala, I arrived early at the office, hoping to clear my mind before the expected discussions about Vanessa's new leadership role. The development lab, tucked away in the basement of our Seattle offices, was out of sight, much like my contribution to the company. I was stunned to find Vanessa already there, inspecting the whiteboard where I had outlined the Symbio's design. Morning, I said, setting my laptop bag down. Admiring your handiwork? For a moment, she seemed embarrassed. Don't be like that, Mag. Last night was business, not personal. Taking credit for my work is pretty personal. From where I'm standing, I shot back. Vanessa sighed and perched on the edge of my desk. I know you did the technical heavy lifting, but Mom's right. The company needs a face people trust. Clients relate to me, and that justifies the bonus, the promotion. Acting like you had anything to do with developing the app that saved the company is another thing entirely, I retorted. Vanessa shifted from conciliatory to businesslike. The app is company property. You developed it as an Anderson employee, and your salary was compensation for that work, just like any other project. The statement hit me hard, not because it was harsh, but because it showed just how completely my family disregarded me, and modern business realities. I wanted to give you a heads up, Vanessa said, evidently mistaking my silence for consent. Mom's announcing the new executive structure this morning. You're being promoted to Chief Technology Officer. It's a significant title increase from IT manager, she added, and a 30% raise. We recognize your contribution, truly. But the company needs clear leadership, and that means you. So, I'm just the tech person, then? I asked, caught off guard. Vanessa gave me a small, patronizing smile as she stood to leave. I knew you'd understand. The board meeting starts at 9 o'clock. Try not to be late. It looks unprofessional. Once she was gone, I sat at my desk, staring at the intricate system architecture on my whiteboard. All those nights, all that work. In the wake of last night's events, my ingenuity had been reduced to just being the tech person who should be thankful for a promotion, while my sister reaped the real power and financial rewards. I opened my laptop and navigated to a folder labeled Symbio's Legal. Inside were months of carefully prepared documents I had hoped I'd never need, copyright registrations, timestamps of development milestones, the GitHub repository proving my sole authorship, and, most importantly, proof that I had built the majority of the app using my own time and equipment. I had always hoped my family would recognize my worth on their own, but that hope had died in the most public way possible last night. It was time for Plan B. I pulled out my phone and dialed a number I had saved but never intended to use. Heather, it's Lily Anderson. I need your legal services. How soon can you come to my office? At 8:55 a.m., I stood outside the boardroom with Heather Preston, one of Seattle's top intellectual property attorneys. Her presence alone would send a clear message, but the documents in her leather portfolio would speak even louder. Are you sure about this? Heather asked calmly. Once we walk in, there's no going back to how things were with your family. The way things were wasn't working for me, I replied. And judging by last night, it never will. At precisely 9 a.m., we entered the boardroom. Mother sat at the head of the table with Vanessa to her right. The remaining seats were occupied by longtime Anderson Supply Chain Solutions board members. Everyone turned to Heather, apparently curious about the unfamiliar figure in the power suit. "Lily, you're just on time," Mother said, her smile forced, her eyes cold. "And you've brought a guest." "This is Heather Preston, my attorney," I said, taking my seat across from Vanessa. "I believe the first item on today's agenda is the new executive structure, which directly concerns me." The room seemed to cool by 10 degrees. Mother's smile disappeared entirely. "I wasn't aware you felt you needed legal representation for a family business discussion," she remarked with a frown. "I didn't either, until last night made it clear that family and business have very different definitions in this company," I replied. Mother glanced at the other board members, evidently trying to regain control. "Perhaps we should discuss this privately first, Lily." "I think the entire board should hear this," I countered. "After all, they have fiduciary responsibilities to the company, and what I'm about to share directly impacts Anderson's primary asset." Heather opened her portfolio and distributed copies of a document to everyone at the table. "This is a preliminary licensing agreement for the Symbiose application, which legally belongs to Lily Anderson as its sole creator and copyright holder." The room erupted into murmurs of confusion. Vanessa snatched the document, her face reddening as she read through it. "This is absurd," Mother exclaimed. "The app was developed for Anderson Supply Chain Solutions by an employee. It belongs to the company." Heather remained composed. "That would be accurate if the development had taken place solely during company time, with company resources, and within the scope of Miss Anderson's duties. However, as the data we've compiled shows, around 78% of the development took place on Miss Anderson's personal time, with her personal equipment, and much of it outside her role as IT manager." Heather presented a second, thicker document, outlining my development path in detail, complete with timestamps, commits, and proof of when and where the work had been done. "This is a family company," Mother said, her composure cracking. "We don't need these legal games." "I'm not playing games," I replied gently. "I'm protecting my intellectual property while still trying to benefit the company. The licensing agreement is extremely favorable, far better than anything we could negotiate with a third party." "You're holding your own family hostage," Vanessa accused, tossing the licensing agreement onto the table. "After everything we've done for you?" I shot back. "What exactly have you done for me?" I demanded. "Take credit for my work. Accept a bonus for my innovation?" Harold Jameson, a tech venture capitalist and my father's friend, cleared his throat. "I'd like to review these documents before we proceed. If Miss Anderson's claims are valid, we need to approach this carefully." Mother seemed stunned by his sensible response. "Harold, surely you're not entertaining this rebellion." "This isn't rebellion, Eleanor. It's business. If your daughter has created valuable intellectual property, she has the right to protect it," Harold said, turning to me. "Though I must ask, Lily, what are your intentions here? What outcome are you seeking?" Before I could answer, Mother interjected. "Her intention is clearly to extort money from her own family by threatening to pull the technology our clients now depend on." She glared at me coldly. "Is that it? You want more money? A bigger title?" The accusation stung, but I maintained my composure. "What I want is recognition of my contribution and a fair stake in the company's future. The Symbiose app isn't just an improvement to our business, it is our business now. And I'd like a say in how it evolves." The battle lines had been drawn. The looks on my mother's and sister's faces made it clear that this was just the beginning. Heather patiently provided further evidence of my ownership rights during the emergency board meeting, which stretched well into the afternoon. Harold and 2 other board members with technical backgrounds posed insightful questions, clearly taking the situation seriously, while Mother and Vanessa grew increasingly agitated. "Even if, and this is a substantial if, Lily has some technical claim to the software, withdrawing it now would destroy the company," Mother argued. "That would hurt everyone, including Lily herself. This isn't a tantrum because she wasn't named CEO," I responded for the 3rd time. "I'm not threatening to withdraw the software. The licensing agreement ensures Anderson Supply Chain Solutions can continue using Symbiose without interruption." I'm simply asserting my ownership of the intellectual property and seeking appropriate compensation and authority over its development. Vanessa chimed in. If you control the app that runs our entire operation, you effectively control the company, regardless of titles. Her assessment was accurate, which was why my family should have considered the implications before completely dismissing my contributions. Harold called for a brief recess, and the board members left, leaving me alone with Heather in the conference room. Through the glass walls, I saw Mother and Vanessa deep in conversation with the company's chief counsel, who had been summoned mid-meeting. They're going to counter with something, Heather warned. Stay focused on your primary objectives. 30 minutes later, the board reconvened. Mother's demeanor had shifted from fury to calculation, a look I recognized from countless business negotiations during my childhood. She was switching to a new strategy. We acknowledge that Lily may have certain rights regarding the Symbio's application, she began, her words seemingly painful to utter. In the interest of family harmony and business continuity, we're prepared to offer a generous settlement. The company's attorney circulated counterproposal documents, which included a one-time payment of $5 million in exchange for the complete transfer of all rights to the application. This is 5 times the bonus awarded to Vanessa, Mother emphasized. A clear recognition of your technical contribution, while allowing the company to move forward under stable leadership. For most people, $5 million might have seemed like an incredibly generous sum, but Symbios was more than just an app to me. It was a revolutionary step that could reshape not only Anderson's supply chain solutions, but perhaps the entire logistics sector. The app I had developed was worth far more than $5 million, both strategically and monetarily. Before I could respond, Harold spoke up. I've reviewed the technical documentation, and I have to say, Lily's work goes well beyond what I'd consider a standard employee contribution. This isn't just an app, it's a complete reimagining of how logistics can function in the digital age. Several other board members nodded, and I felt a surge of satisfaction that my work was finally being understood. However, Harold added, fragmenting ownership of such a critical system creates untenable business risks. Would have been proud, she continued, her voice low and tinged with something I couldn't quite place. Her eyes held a mixture of pride and something more, perhaps a recognition of the seismic shift I had orchestrated. But I never expected it to come to this, Lily. I smiled, though there was a weight behind it. Neither did I, Mom. But here we are. There was a brief, pregnant pause before she spoke again. Do you ever think about how it used to be? How we all worked together, when things were simpler? I shook my head, the nostalgia for the past clashing with the clarity of the present. I think about it, but the world changes, Mom. We all change. And if we're going to keep up, we have to adapt. What I did with Symbios, what I did with Anderson Tech, wasn't just about me, it was about the future. And you taught me that. Innovation isn't just about creating something new, it's about evolving with the times. That's what I'm doing. She nodded slowly, almost as if absorbing that truth for the first time. I've spent so many years focusing on stability, on what's been built, that I forgot sometimes it's not enough just to hold on to what we have. We need to build something that can outlast us. I could see her trying to reconcile her past with my vision for the future, and I respected that. Exactly, I said softly. And that's what we're doing now. You, Vanessa, and me. It doesn't have to be a competition. We each have our roles. Her expression softened, and there was a moment of understanding between us, one that felt as if it had been a long time coming. Just make sure you don't forget the company's roots, Lily. It's not only about the technology. It's about the people. I smiled, feeling the weight of her words. I won't forget. Not ever. As she turned to leave, I stood there for a moment, the award in my hand, the weight of the moment settling in. 6 months ago, this would have felt impossible, my mother, acknowledging the reality I had forged. But here we were, standing on the precipice of something bigger than either of us had imagined. Anderson Tech wasn't just a new chapter, it was a new era. And as I looked back at the people in the room, I couldn't help but feel a sense of pride. This was my creation, my legacy, and no one, not even my family, could take that from me. The final words echoed in the ballroom, and as the last remnants of my speech lingered in the air, I could feel the weight of everything that had led to this moment. The struggles, the sacrifices, and the quiet moments of doubt that had crept in along the way. Yet here I stood, on the precipice of something bigger than I ever imagined, leading a company that was now its own entity, making waves in an industry that had once seemed impenetrable. But in that moment, I couldn't ignore the pang of guilt that gnawed at me, a small but persistent reminder of the family I had distanced myself from. For all my triumph, something about it felt incomplete. The bitterness of broken connections still lingered, no matter how many accolades or successes came my way. As much as I had fought for recognition, the battle had come at a cost, one I wasn't sure was fully worth it. Still, the future beckoned. Anderson Tech was now a force in the industry, and I had become its architect, its visionary. What mattered was that I had a place in this new world. A world where the rules weren't determined by blood, but by merit, by what you could bring to the table. As Harold and others congratulated me, I couldn't help but think about what was next. Would I rebuild the bonds with my family? Would things ever feel like they used to? The future was full of potential, but it also carried the weight of past decisions. And yet, there was a quiet resolve in me, knowing that whatever came next, I had earned it. My journey had only just begun. And that was enough. The world was wide open. All I had to do was keep moving forward.